Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the video series entitled The Road to the Empire Strikes Back. I'm your host Scott Parker and we're looking back 40 years ago, what it was like to anticipate and be waiting for the new Star Wars movie, the first Star Wars sequel called The Empire Strikes Back. Episode 2 we talked about the trailers, and episode 1 we talked about what it was like to live and be a kid in between the two movies. Today, we are going to the Muppet Show. Now, in my research for doing this episode, in my mind, I didn't know when it came out. It turns out it came out February 21st, 1980. So this predates the movie by 3 months. And what it was Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill, C-3PO, actually Anthony Daniels in the suit, R2-D2, no record as to whether or not it was Kenny Baker or not, and Peter Mayhew playing Chewbacca. So, yeah, the Muppet Show. Well, you might need a little context if you weren't alive back then. So, 40 years ago, there was not YouTube, there was not the internet, there was nothing but 3 channels plus your local VHS channel. So you were pretty much starved for anything Star Wars content. That's how we got the Star Wars Holiday Special. So I was an avid fan of the Muppet Show, and I used to always look at the TV guide every Sunday morning because it came in the Houston Post newspaper. And I would underline all the shows that I wanted to see. And I am pretty sure that back then the TV guide had all the guest stars for all the Muppet Show episodes. It was syndicated back then. It was local for me. It was 6:30 p.m., so it was during the dinner time hour. And we would always watch the 6 o'clock news. I'm in the Central Time Zone. 6 o'clock news, and then the Muppet Show would come on at 6:30 on Channel 2, I believe, local, the NBC channel, right before the prime time shows began. My parents, they loved the Muppet Show. I loved the Muppet Show. So watching the Muppet Show was pretty much an everyday, well, not an everyday, every week that the Muppet Show was on, that was appointment television. We were always home for the Muppet Show. So when it was advertised that Star Wars characters were going to be on the Muppet Show, I was already more than there. I mean, I was already there anyway. Muppet Show is just a fantastic show. If you've not seen the Muppet Show ever, or if you've not seen the Muppet Show in a very long time, I highly recommend go find a DVD at Half Price Books or anything like that, or buy something new. Or I don't know if it's streaming on Disney Plus now or not here in 2020, but gosh, the Muppet Show was so good. And the kind of stars that they had were just fun, because the stars could actually just, let their hair down. So I have now rewatched the Muppet Show episode, and I got to say, before we go any farther, I'm gonna leave it to you to go find the Muppet Show episode on the internet. It's there. I had to hunt and search for it. I have DVD for seasons 1 and 2. I don't have 4, and which is when this is season 4, episode 13. Now I have taken notes, because I watched it and found it online, so I'll be referring down to my notes every now and then, but because I wanted to walk you through it. I didn't want to do the whole, what we did in episode 2, where I had the little iPad, and we talked about it, looked at it together. I didn't think that was, they want to do that this time. Just do the Muppet Show. I don't want to do a commentary track, but because, you can go find it on your own. So it's out there, you'll just have to look if you don't already have your DVD copy. So, again, keep in mind when you do watch the Muppet Show with the Star Wars characters, keep in mind that we were starved for Star Wars anything. And so, as cheesy as this show is now in 2020, I ate that stuff up in 1980. So, the show begins, as it always does, with Scooter, the stagehand, I guess he was. I don't remember. He comes on and he always opens the door and says, guest star, 5 minutes till the opening of the show, guest star. Well, in this case, the guest star is what the heck was his name? He was a Angus McGonagall, the Gargling Gargoyle. I mean, just saying the words, it's just so much fun. But anyway, it's a Muppet character, and he gets bumped when Luke Skywalker, dressed in his Bespin fatigues, C-3PO, and R2-D2 show up in the Muppet Show set, bursting through a door, I mean, not a door, through a wall, looking for the kidnapped Chewbacca. And one of the things that Mark Hamill, okay, so Mark Hamill, he, you know he's a geek. If you've read any of his interviews or listened to his interviews or watched his interviews, you know he is a geek from a kid. He's a lifelong geek, so he loves this stuff. So I think he pretty much had a blast on the show. And it shows because he knows he's on the Muppet Show. And he just gives it all he's got. And it's really darn good. If it's cheesy, you got to remember that it's cheesy. So just go with that. So he and 3PO and R2, they land on the Muppet Show set. And what's interesting is that he shows up in the Bespin fatigues. Now this is the action figure that will be the first Luke Skywalker action figure from Empire Strikes Back. That was my third Luke, I guess it was. X-Wing original Luke. This would be the third one. So he shows up in the Bespin fatigues, and don't forget, we've not seen the movie. It's three months in the future. So this is the first time we see Luke in a brand new outfit. Now that plays a key role in the film, I mean in the episode, because more than one character comment on the outfit. But this is Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, in a brand new outfit that you've seen in the trailer. So he's wearing the exact same clothes that he's wearing in Empire Strikes Back. So, you know, mind blown. I did notice one thing. He had a blaster on his belt. He did not have a lightsaber. I kept waiting. In fact, I looked more than one time going, did he have a lightsaber? No, he did not. He had a blaster. And 3PO and R2, they were just normal. So they show up, and what's funny is that Luke goes, 3PO asks where they are, and he goes, I don't know. We've landed on some sort of comedy variety show planet. So, again, Mark Hamill knows what he's doing. He is in a Muppet Show episode, and it's funny. So, the plot is that Chewie is kidnapped, and so they are looking for Chewbacca, trying to find Chewbacca. And, again, so you have the old opening of the song, and then they have back to the behind-the-scenes section. And 3PO and R2 are talking to Kermit, and they're saying why they're there, looking for Chewbacca the Wookiee. And Luke Skywalker, now there's a difference, but you'll hear me say this, but there's the Luke Skywalker segment and there's a Mark Hamill segment. They play, both characters are on the same show. When Mark Hamill is playing Luke Skywalker, he is over the top, just slightly over the top, or just a few notches over the top. I don't know. You be the judge of that. I, of course, I'm still a kid. I'm still a geek, so I dig this stuff. So, you know, Luke Skywalker rushes into the set and goes, down with Alderaan, looking for Chewie, and it's really kind of fun. And I'm looking at my notes real quick. I actually wrote the words over the top. See, right there? Over the top. So, anyway, over the top. Yeah, it's definitely over the top. And, you know, after they have their initial run-in, and Fozzie shows up, and he's like, when Fozzie sees Luke, he goes, ah, you're Mark Hamill, and Luke goes, no, he's my cousin. Let me go outside, and I'll go get him. So Luke Skywalker goes away out the back door, and Mark Hamill shows up. Now, Mark Hamill is dressed in an Argyle sweater vest. His hair's the same, and he's wearing jeans, I think it was, and he shows up, and you know, you have the moment between Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker, and when it's Mark Hamill, he gets to be more himself. He gets to play on the gags. In fact, he does a funny gag where he mimics Kermit the Frog, and no, he mimics Fozzie Bear, and Fozzie goes, "Who are you trying to be?" And he's like, "That's the funny gag, is that he's actually mimicking Fozzie Bear," which is funny because it's Frank Oz, and you know, Frank Oz, Fozzie Bear, Yoda, it's all the same thing. But anyway, so there's this dichotomy between Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill. They're never on the same screen at the same time until the end, but that's for coming. So anyway, Luke is looking for Chewbacca, and Mark is there doing songs and dances. And let's see what he says here. Kermit asks what he can do, what Mark Hamill can do, and he says, I can sing and I can dance, and I can even gargle Gershwin, which is what Angus McGonagall does, is he gargles Gershwin. He's a gargoyle who gargles Gershwin. So, it's so funny. I just love it. So anyway, interesting fact here. So Angus McGonagall, the Muppet, he actually sneaks onto the main stage and starts doing his act. He actually starts to gargle Gershwin, and Mark Hamill shows up behind him, and they gargle Gershwin together. I can't think of another G word that means together, but, they do it. And again, 1980, but it's the Muppet Show. And I know the Muppet Show had some corny moments. I am fine with corny moments. It's just fun. Scooter has a song, and it's good because you actually get the Electric Mayhem. And talk about a time capsule. So Scooter sings a song, and the Electric Mayhem band, so this would be Floyd and Animal, and I forgot the lady's name. And then Zoot, the sax player, and then Rolf, the piano player. They show up, and they play, and it's really great because this is 1980, and when they do their fade in, you see the band play, and they are like in full disco mode. They got like the ceiling and the floor, like from Saturday Night Live with the checkerboard thing. It's you look at it now, you're like, yeah, the music's not that disco-y, but the vibe is the visual vibe is definitely there. The big set piece, if you will, is Pigs in Space. Star Wars, Pigs in Space, you knew it had to happen. So Luke and 3PO and R2 are on the Swine Trek ship, and what's his name? Captain Heartthrob, the lead character. He comes out, and the first thing he does is see Luke Skywalker in his Bespin fatigues, and he goes, "Hey man, who's your tailor?" Again, running gag through the rest of the section. So Luke and 3PO they're looking for the Chewbacca, and of course they refer to it as a pigsty. Now Piggy comes out in her Pigs in Space outfit, sees Luke Skywalker, knows who it is, so she goes back inside, and she comes back outside dressed as Princess Leia. And of course we have a lot of fun with Luke going, "I don't know who you think you are," and she's like, "Watch it, bub, we're going to be doing this together." It's fun and it's cheesy. And of course, at one point we have the appearance of the bad guy, who is Darth Nader. Now, when you look at him directly, you can kind of pretty much tell that it's Gonzo. But he goes, and he turns his head, and of course, Gonzo's snout comes out, and you're like, oh, it's Gonzo in the Darth Vader mask. And of course, who else but Gonzo would be playing Darth Nadir, Nadir, Nadir. So they land on a planet, and that's where Chewbacca is. So Chewbacca is the secret weapon that Luke Skywalker uses to escape the clutches of Darth Nader. But as all things Muppet Show is concerned, they have a song and dance number. And I got to tell you, there's some cheese and there's some corn. They just pile on more corn and more cheese because, wait for it, R2-D2 and Chewbacca have a dance number. R2 just spins in a circle. Chewbacca just kind of lumbers back and forth, and he pretty much doesn't do anything. And then Kermit and all the other cast, they throw it to C-3PO. And Anthony Daniels in the costume actually does a little tap dance number. And it's interesting too because he actually extends his arms, past the usual stuff that 3PO does. He actually extends his arms out, and you're like, wow, he could do that the whole time? I didn't take a note of whether or not the little bar was sitting there right there, because I know that it's a lot of how 3PO is. But anyway, it's kind of fun to see that. And of course, Luke's not going to have any of that, but Mark Hamill comes out, and he finishes the song and dance routine. And what's interesting is here in 1980, they end up singing Disney's When You Wish Upon a Star. Now, is that prescient or what? What's kind of funny, though, at the very end of the show, you have Luke Skywalker, and he introduces his cousin, Mark Hamill, and the two of them come out and they stand side by side. And of course, you can tell that the Luke is just kind of looking off in the distance. Not quite perfect, but anyway. The Muppet Show, I mean, let's be honest, it's cheesy, but dang it, it's fun. And back in the day when we were Star Wars starved, you just ate up everything they gave you. And if that episode didn't already whet your already whetted appetite, it just amped it up a little bit more. I highly recommend you go take a look at this episode. Don't keep your mindset in 2020. Keep your mindset in 1980. Keep your mindset on, this is what George Lucas approved, and this is what Mark Hamill gamefully did. It really is fun. It's cheesy, but it's fun. So if you haven't done it in a long time, or if ever, I highly recommend you go find the season 4, episode 17 episode of The Muppet Show, and just watch and enjoy. And remember, for a 5th grader like me, it was gold. So, until the next episode, may the Force be with you, and let's stay on the road to The Empire Strikes Back. Goodbye.